few weeks ago, while camping, my husband had a heart attack. It wasn't his first cardiac crisis, but this time it dawned on me that our lives would dramatically change. This wasn't a fluke, wasn't a one-time event. I could no longer live in that lovely dreamland of denial. Welcome to episode 24 of the Midlife Reset podcast. I'm Cheryl Gordon, a yoga therapist committed to educating midlife women around losing weight, feeling stronger, and sleeping better using the tools of yoga and mindfulness. Today, I'm sharing how I used awareness, curiosity, and deep self-compassion to navigate one of the scariest moments of my life. If you've ever faced a crisis and felt completely overwhelmed, well, this episode's for you. Now, the last thing I ever want is people to feel sorry for me, and maybe you can relate to that. The reason I'm sharing in today's podcast is that I want to teach exactly how I used mindfulness to navigate this super scary shit. There is sometimes the illusion that those of us who preach, peace, love, harmony, have these charmed lives where we just float around with rainbows and unicorns shooting out our asses. Well-meaning friends and family members have cautioned me not to be honest with y'all because you wouldn't trust my teachings if you thought I had problems too, right? So here's the first tool in navigating a major crisis with mindfulness: awareness. In a human life, there will be times of wonderful joy and happiness, and there will absolutely be times when things suck. And you know what? It's probably about 50-50. Anyone who says that they're rarely uncomfortable has either had a lobotomy or they are numbing regularly with alcohol, comfort eating, Netflixing, overspending, or some other buffering type of behavior. Recognizing and allowing those uncomfortable feelings is the first step in mindfulness. It's okay. You're not broken. My life is not bad because we're dealing with a health crisis here. There is no cloud of doom over my head. It's just life. So how does this look in the moment? Well, by being aware of how I'm feeling, checking in with myself the way I would a close friend. How are you? Can I be your sounding board to help you understand what's happening for you? Well, here's an example. I was driving to the hospital one day when all this was unfolding, and I felt a dark, dense fog, depressive fog descend. And not to be dramatic, but I almost felt like I could drive that truck into the guardrail. You know what I'm saying? It was just too much in that moment. The knee-jerk reaction for me was to argue with the feeling. I don't want to be depressed. I don't want to feel dense and dark. I was going to reason with myself. Well, it's not that bad. You've been through worse. A lot of people have it worse than you, right? Stuff like that. Don't be a wiener. But instead, tried something different. I gave myself the gift of mindfulness. I dropped awareness into my physical body. I noticed that I felt really heavy in my chest. My head hurt. I almost felt nauseous. And I kept my attention in those feelings in my body, even though I didn't like them. I kept another bit of my focus on my breathing, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. So I was kind of really in that present moment awareness, steady and slow. I watched as the sensations were slowly shifting. After a few minutes, and I watched on the truck clock, so I can tell you exactly, it was just a few minutes. I could feel that depressive cloud starting to dissipate. Now, it was really hard not to panic at first because I know what chronic depression feels like and I don't want to go back there. But I've done this enough now. I trust the process. So, this example of that drive to the hospital leads us to tool number 2 of mindfulness: curiosity. Instead of stuffing down the feeling, arguing with myself why I shouldn't feel it, or acting out around the feeling, creating a fight or drinking or eating or, doing another buffering behavior, I brought an attitude of kindly curiosity to the feeling. I find going into my physical sensations really helps me to stay less panicked and gets me out of my cuckoo head when I'm trying to stay with a feeling. So going into the physical sensations was a really big part of that. Again, it's like you have this really good close friend and they're explaining to you how they're feeling. If I love that person, then I would pay attention to them. I might ask some questions. I wouldn't judge them. I wouldn't try to, tell them they shouldn't feel that way or make them feel guilty because they feel that way. In a loving relationship, we seek to understand. And this is a really rewarding way to connect. It's a gift I gave myself that day, which brings us to the third tool we're going to talk about of mindfulness, embracing. So think of hugging a loved one. You embrace them, right? For that moment, you are very aware of their physical being, of how it feels to touch another human and be welcomed into that hug. We absolutely need that sensation to survive, let alone thrive. And in that moment in the truck on the way to the hospital that day, when I felt the depression clouds suffocating me, deep inside, I knew I had my back, my own back. I was my own best friend. I knew I could be and should be my own best friend in that moment. So I listened and I stayed present and I cared and I didn't judge. I'm going to cry. I gave myself a hug by not distracting or numbing out. I can remember how scared I was that day. And I'm so proud of myself because I showed up. I let some tears flow at that time too. I might have been crying a lot. Maybe it wasn't safe to be driving. I didn't beat myself up, call myself weak. I didn't negate all the self-development work that I've done in the last few years by saying it's all stupid because I don't feel good in this one moment. I had my back. And in the intensity of that emotional storm, I tapped into the deeper, constant rudder of mindful awareness. This is the layer of us that is always the same, the place that we peek out at life from, our witness self. The essence of this center is loving kindness. I feel it in my spiritual heart. This is the place within me that I love my dog to an insane degree. This is a place within me that cries at movies. This is the place within me that swells with gratitude when life is beautiful. And this is the place within me that finds forgiveness and understanding for those that I love, even if I've been hurt. And this is the place where I find self-compassion. Now, why is this at all relevant to you, my friend? My tale of woe. Because crisis happens for all of us. Like my client who was doing pretty good losing weight, but then her mom got sick and all that hospital stuff and not getting access to the food she was able to eat normally. And well, the whole weight loss thing, and she ended up gaining more weight back. So a crisis derailed her from her goals and her dreams. I had another client who got fired just a few years from her planned retirement. And in order to numb out from that shock, she started compulsively shopping. Little retail therapy. Well, the credit card debt torpedoed her financial goals, and all thoughts of retirement were off the table for several more years. So, again, a crisis derailed her goals and her dreams. I had a yoga teacher that used to work for me at my old studio. She was so looking forward to leading classes. She was a teacher trainee, she was taking the course. And she broke her arm, I think 2 or 3 months before we finished our teacher training course. And she just said, I've broken my arm. I can't finish the teacher training. We could have worked with it. We could have given her other things to do and let her take her time or give her different assignments. But she abandoned any compromises we might have found and just derailed herself from her goals. And to my knowledge, she never did get her teacher training after all that work and money. So this is how a crisis broken limb, family sickness, losing your job. All these things happen to us in real life, but the crisis doesn't have to blow up your life. And that's why I want to teach you about these tools of mindfulness. Maybe you can find an example from your own experience where something erupted out of nowhere and derailed you from where you thought you were going. I know it's happened to me a lot in my life, and I gave up dreaming. I gave up setting goals. I gave up hoping for more because I thought, well, life's just going to come along, kick me in the ass. There's no point, right? Well, not this time, girlfriend. This time, I'm using mindfulness and I am not getting derailed, even when a life crisis happens. This year, my big focus has been on building a six-figure business. It's been a learning curve, that's for sure, and lots of challenge. When my husband was in the hospital, I couldn't even browse a magazine. My brain was so fried. My brain was just really fuzzy from all the stress. Did you ever get that where you just can't string two words together? Once you study the nervous system the way I have, it makes perfect sense. It would have been so familiar to me and so easy just to give up the goal of trying to push this online business stuff and just say, ah, I got bigger fish to fry. That's what I've always done before, but not this time. I'm using mindfulness to just really stay focused on this. It's so amazing. I use the tools. Let's go over that. A for awareness, C for curiosity, E for embracing. I aced it. Maybe that'll help you remember it too. You can ace it. The practice helped me acknowledge what was happening, but gave me that grounding so that I didn't forget my goals this time. I was back at work within a couple days. I'm not distracting myself with busyness. I am proceeding with clarity and commitment. I'm not pushing myself to exhaustion just to avoid all those feelings that are residual from the crisis. I am taking adequate time to do my journaling, to write my podcasts, to practice yoga. So thank you for listening to this whole tale. I share it, as I said before, not to get sympathy. You don't have to ever ask me how Richard is. Whoops, I said his name, or anything like that. I just want you to learn. I just want to teach. I want to share this to inspire you to dive into your own mindfulness practice. It's truly a superpower. Now, if you are interested in diving deeper, creating a truly transformative mindfulness routine for your lifestyle, I would encourage you to look into the She Mindfulness program. This is the place where I really pulled together all of these concepts to rejuvenate my own midlife. I used mindfulness to lose the menopausal weight. Once I realized I could lose weight using these tools, I got kind of excited. I've learned to have my own back no matter how scary life gets. It's really helped me navigate some family crises, not just this recent medical one, but other ones. And I feel strong, not only in my body, but in my mind and my spirit. Let's face it, as we get older, we see and experience more and more things. It can be overwhelming, definitely depressing sometimes, or we can ace it with mindfulness and experience aging as a continuation of the grand adventure of life. So I hope you are having a wonderful day and you're not dealing with any kind of crazy crisis, but make sure you keep ACE in your back pocket because life will unfold. Please subscribe to the podcast, comment. I love to get your emails, knowing what you're curious about and how these podcasts are helping and what else you would like to know. We'll talk soon. Have you heard? Get your questions about midlife metabolism answered live at a special Zoom event September 18th. Join Charlene Stiles, holistic nutritionist, and myself for an exclusive Q&A. Click on the link in the show notes or go to CherylGordonYT.com to register right now because I know I would forget. So don't forget. I can't wait to dive in together.